Hello, everybody, and welcome to Todd and Shane's Cloudy Podcast, episode 447, one of the lost episodes, recorded live Wednesday, January 15th, 2020. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Good. For the folks that don't join us at the pre-show, Shane and I are all amped up right now because we just got done complaining about people who don't know how to drive in roundabouts.
Yeah, well, and before we even went to the pre-show, we had a long political discussion. So
we did.
Todd and I have been talking for an hour on just
solving all
topics.
The world's problems. Yep, it's been very enlightening. I've learned a lot. So it's been good. So if we seem particularly animated, it's because our blood pressure and our heart rates have been elevated for a solid 45 minutes now.
Yeah, and the heater in my office is on high. Apparently, I'm sweating over here.
Yeah, and so this is a very important thing. So a year or two ago, you recommended a foot warmer for me. It's like a blanket with a heater in it. I have bought one. I bought one for my lovely wife. She thought it was a horrible idea and would never use it. She thinks it's now a great idea. She uses it all the time. But we were having a discussion this morning because this is a discussion that comes up in the mornings, and it's one of those, for her, it's more of a fork in the road than it is for me. But she can never decide whether she wants to wear socks or not. Because does she want to wear shoes with socks, or does she want to wear shoes without socks so that when she puts her feet in her feet warmer, she's directly contacting the foot warmer? How do you fall on that?
I am pro socks.
Pro socks, okay.
So I'm an interesting cat for many reasons. I think we all know that. But so I almost never go barefoot. Like never. Even in the summer, I need socks for my little tootsies all the time.
Gotcha.
What's even stranger, since we're talking about, we could do a whole episode on like things that make Shane weird.
Maybe a 2-part series, yeah.
Shane's list, Todd's list.
Yep.
But so I also almost always wear shoes. Like, so if I have to like go do the dishes or clean the room or like shuffle about in the house, I wear shoes all the time. I can't walk around on bare floors. I don't know. I got real sensitive. I got girly feet. That's not fair. It's not girly feet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I have, like, you know how you talk about like people have computer hands, or little delicate fingers, if we pick up something, we calluses right away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. My feet are the same way. My feet cannot handle like being exposed to the elements for more than 10 seconds at a time. So there you go.
In your climate controlled house with your exposed to the elements. Get the hell out.
We just recarpeted Nicola's office upstairs. And they're like, do you want this padding or this padding? And they're like, this is the one, this is the upgrade one everyone goes. I'm like, what's that over there? And they're like, oh, that's the Ferrari. It's like 50% more for the padding. I'm like, we'll take it. And I get it home and I'm like, man, this stuff's not, it's good, but it's...
I've had better.
Yeah, it was exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I was going to bear, I wanted the cheapest humanly possible carpet, but I was going to save no expense on the padding. So.
Yep. So that's interesting. I never wear shoes inside. And I know that's a pretty common thing. Lori chimed in that they don't either. But for me, it is a little bit about the tracking stuff in. Because I've got kids, so they try to track everything in. But for me, I guess I fall on the opposite side of it. I'm just more comfortable in socks or whatever.
Yep.
But that's interesting. I've never noticed that about you, that you are. So like, do you sleep with shoes? Are you like, like Tobias in Arrested Development, the Never Nude? Are you a never unshoed?
Yeah. You hear about married couples finding out that they do things with their socks on. I'm like, I got my shoes on back there, right?
The wife's getting friskier over getting your good boots on because things are about to get real.
Yeah. And that's something that Mark's talking about wearing, or being like barefoot in the summer and stuff. And like, so like people who wear like flip flops and that type of stuff and slides, as my children call those things they wear. Oh God, I mean, it's like unfathomable to me to wear stuff like that. I need my socks on.
Oh, so funny. That's we probably lost anybody who was listening to this.
Yeah. I mean, I told you.
Before we lose anybody else, I wanted to mention that the charity drive is still going on. And again, there's no chance that this is going to get out before it's over. But you can go to lorigowan.com/TKCharity, I think, or something similar. And do that. That's between the two big birthdays of the year, Lori's birthday in December, my birthday here next week, and raising money for charity. I already got a couple of good emails from people who are, the charities that they're donating to. So it's been good.
Nice. And yeah, and this birthday thing, I'm going to figure out what one of those are one day, and I'm going to have one.
I wouldn't put a lot of effort into it. It's not important.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not important. And then I'm like 6 podcasts behind now because I only ever think about this on Wednesday mornings, and then I haven't built the thing with the thing. And
yeah, I keep telling Todd, we should just be the lost episodes, right? Just be like, you know what? Just never going to put those out. We're going to start over the blank slate, and one day when we're famous, we can sell the 6 lost episodes.
if it hasn't happened by now, it's not going to happen.
Mark is showering with his shoes on. That's weird. Anyway, sorry.
That's shower shoes. They're a thing. And so Mark was in the Army. I was in the Army. I completely get the whole showering with your shoes on. Say no more. So big topics. So today is January 15th. I've already said that, though it'll be July or August before you actually hear this. But today, one of the big announcements is Chromium Edge apparently is going today's that's coming out day. So that's a big thing. So I think you've said you haven't switched over to it. You've not looked at it much.
No, I am still just Chrome. I have not. I've not been compelled to switch. That's what took it. That's what it took to get me from Edge to Chrome. Right? Was I needed a compelling reason. It was the Chrome people. And so right now, as best I can tell, Chrome to Chromium is just a lateral move, so I probably just won't switch until there is a compelling reason. Yeah,
I'm in the same boat. And for me, it is actually, as it sits today at 10:25 on Wednesday morning, moving from Chrome to Edge would be a downgrade. Mm-hmm. I'm clearly not going to do that. But once the problem that I'm getting ready to talk about is fixed, then it will be an upgrade, and I will probably switch over. I want to because Microsoft, obviously I work a lot with the Microsoft web technologies, so using their browser, there's some value adds to that I'm anxious to look at. But yeah, I can't do it just yet.
I wait for the day that you make the move, and then you tell me, okay, now here's the thing that I have that you don't have, and then I'll make the move.
Well, and I think we've talked about it. So it's an extension on the profiles, the people. And so right now, Shane, and if you haven't already, listeners, I've got a blog post on how to use the Office 365 with multiple users in your browser without losing your mind or something. I forget. But we talk about profiles in Chrome, which is essentially, an Office 365 professional, you've got your account. You probably have some kind of a tenant admin account. Maybe some other account. As consultants, Shane and I have accounts for customers that we use. And since everybody's going to office.com, you can't just save the password because it's different users at different times. There's some techniques you can use within private mode and all that, but that doesn't scale very well. But Chrome and other browsers, Firefox and all that, have profiles, so you can have multiple instances of Chrome, 6, 8, a dozen, whatever, logged into the same URL as a different address. That was a game changer. Like once I got comfortable with that and wrapped my head around it, it was amazing. Use the snot out of that. Now, an advanced move on that is profile sync. So with Chrome, if I log into a profile and it's and I log into anything Google related, Gmail, YouTube, whatever, it takes that Google account and syncs it up into the cloud. And if I create another profile on another machine, that same account, it syncs everything over. That works great with Google properties, but again, Shane and I do everything with Office 365 accounts, so it doesn't sync. So I've had to, create Office 365 accounts to sync those across because I have multiple machines. That's been a pain in the butt.
Yep.
So I've done it for a lot of them. What Chromium Edge offers is all of that people support and all of that sync support, but now the accounts, instead of syncing with Gmail accounts, because Microsoft would never do that, they sync with Microsoft accounts, which is the very thing that I'm doing all this with. So that would be the improvement. The problem is that has been, so I'm on the dev branch. Yep. They've got different branches. I've been on the dev branch. They made that sync work for Outlook.com accounts, Hotmail accounts. That worked 100 years ago, but I've got one of those. And they added support for Azure AD accounts a few months back, but favorites didn't sync. So passwords synced and form information synced, and I think maybe history synced, but favorites did not. which is not the end of the world, but I already have that working in Chrome, so why would I give that up, as I move over? They fixed supposedly the favorite syncing, but now I'm one of 4 people on Earth who can't sign in with my profile. So if I would be able to sign in to my Chromium Edge profile with my AAD account, all would be great. But on none of my machines with none of my Office 365 accounts will it work.
That would be annoying.
Yeah. So on Twitter, one of the people from the Chromium Edge team has been working with me. We're trying to figure out what it is about me personally, because that seems to be, the common thread. But once I think once I get that figured out, barring any of the showstoppers, I'll just move over, because in every Office 365 account I use, demos, customers, personal stuff, it will just all sync magically all over.
Well, yeah, like I said, if you get it fixed, I'll make the move after you've got it all working.
Yeah, after I've ironed. Yeah, and that makes sense. So you have a desktop machine and your Surface
laptop.
So I have my desktop machine, a laptop, and a tablet. So I've got the 3 that I would like to sync everything with.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah. And it's interesting that favorites was like a annoyance for you. I have literally not made a browser favorite in 15 years.
Yep. So, and I completely ignored Chromium Edge because everything works in Chrome.
Yep.
And right before Ignite, Mark was saying something about it. He'd switched over to it, loved it. So then I switched over to it, found the syncing problem, talked to the team at Ignite, started that whole thing going. And so I was talking to him a couple days ago, and he said the same thing as you. He's like, well, how did you even notice that favorites isn't syncing? I'm like, well, none of my favorites synced up. He's like, you use favorites?
Yeah.
I'm like, doesn't everybody? Yeah, he hasn't touched them. He hasn't.
Yeah. Well, and especially 'cause like you, right? I literally have 30 different customer accounts. So I have 30 different people in Chrome to find my stuff. So I have to go set all that up again, which would be a pain in the butt. But every one of them, I just go to make.powerapps.com. Like I don't do anything else with any of them. So those would not be an issue. And honestly, really, even on my personal computer. So, if we think about like things I actually use. So, I've got YouTube up for managing my channel. I've got Twitter up for managing all the crap that you tweet at me. And I've got my own Power App stuff. And those are probably the only 3. Oh, you know what? I've got Discord up because for the computer game I play, I talk to people on there. So I got 4 websites that I go to on a regular basis. All my for fun, casual browsing all happens on my phone. So, yeah.
I wonder if that's the difference, because I do some of my casual browsing on my phone, but not all of it. And as I think about it, so I really only have 2 sets of favorites that I care about, because I have my personal ones and then my work ones. And so for my work ones, actually, let me just pull that up because I've got it in another browser over here. So it's like a link to Teams. We talked about that before the call.
Yep.
A link to a couple of OneNotes that we've got, a link to our billing software, a link to my webmail, a link to just my OneDrive. So, I've probably got 8, 10, like 1Password. I've got a link to that. So for my work account, I would want all of those to come across, because then if I need to put time in, it's easy. I can just hit that. For my personal one, I've got a bunch of stuff. But outside of that, yeah, I don't think I have any other accounts that I would really care in the favorites on.
Yeah, and then every now and then I go digging through history to find something I looked at, 4 days ago, and that almost invariably fails me.
Yes. Well, so I save those. That happens because enough that I've saved them. So hopefully I'll get this figured out with Edge, and I'll be able to sync over, because I like it. So one of the things that it does that Chrome does not is it can turn some Microsoft web things into web apps. So one of the many complaints about Teams right now is that the Teams client doesn't handle identity switching very well. And the Teams client does not support multiple instances of said Teams client. So I can't have one on one tenant and then another one sitting next to it on the other tenant. I have to switch, and switching tech is terrible. So one of the things that I've done is I've got the Teams web client in my browser so that I can do that. But with Chromium Edge, you can turn that into an app, and then you can actually pin the Teams web app as a person to a thing so that it just shows up like another app. It's almost indistinguishable from the thick client.
Interesting. Now,
so there's a few of those kind of things.
So I agree that I used to have a hard time with team switching. I find that works really well and fast now. Are you still having problems with switching between organizations?
I never switch between organizations anymore because I always do the web thing. So I haven't done it.
Well, because I mean, I'm with you. That used to be terrible, and that was one of our big complaints. They have
Yep.
fixed that. It switches as fast as Slack does at this point.
So speed was part of it. The other problem was like the thing that we've got now. If I switched in the Teams client, it would disconnect this call.
Yes, yes, that is still true.
So that is an issue. So I've just gotten used to. I just have my work profile has Teams in it, and then if I need to do anything, I just switch it in there. Yeah. And like Lori says in the chat, if you need to be in two at once, the switching is intolerable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I get it. It's I mean, it's not ideal, but it was really bad in the beginning, and now I think right. It used to take like a minute to switch. Like literally, you'd have to wait on a minute to process.
Yeah, and that's not an exaggeration. It would legitimately be. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now that part is at least gone. Now you switch, and it happens in as fast as you can feel like it should.
Yeah. So I'll keep everybody updated on that. I'd like to switch over. I think it'd be good. It's and I feel somewhat obligated because when Windows 10 came out with the original Edge browser, I was a harsh vocal critic of it. So I feel like if the new one is good, I should be every bit as forthcoming with the praises and accolades.
Whereas I embraced and used Edge as my primary one for multiple years, so I'm the better person.
Yeah, and you also wear shoes in the shower, so I don't think your judgment's...
I don't get no one of them foot diseases you got either, so...
So Microsoft takes away, within the last couple of days, Windows 7 has gone through the end of support. It is 10 years from when Windows 7 came out.
That's crazy.
And it is insane. And it's funny because they were saying, I was reading one of the blog posts on it. And they were saying, in 2010, when we released Windows 7 and Office 2010, and I'm thinking, and SharePoint 2010, the platform that my blog is on, is now officially 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't have any Windows 7 boxes creeping around anywhere. I got rid of those a long time ago, but I think there's probably still some out there.
I mean, we've got like stacks of computers and Surfaces and things around here that haven't been booted up in years that probably still have it, but I don't know. A lot of that stuff, we just need to throw it away or whatever you're supposed to properly do to dispose of those laptops I can see sitting in a pile over there.
Yeah. But Windows 7 was, it was a great OS. I missed it, especially when it was supposed to be replaced with Windows 8, which was horrible when it first came out. But Windows 7 I really liked, and I feel a little bad that its time is gone.
No, yeah, 7 was the last of that, like, that way of using an operating system, right? It was kind of the last of that. And then, 8 was terrible, but it was at 8.1 that we...
Yeah.
Then
it was less terrible,
fine.
yeah.
I thought 8.1, was fine once it got ironed out a little bit, so...
But yeah, so if you've got any Windows 7 boxes creeping around, it's time now to bid them a fond farewell. You can upgrade them to Windows 10 for free. Your Windows 7 license keys work for Windows 10, so...
I thought I saw that. I haven't investigated that at all, though.
I've done it a few times. I haven't done it in the last couple of years because I got rid of all my Windows 7 boxes, but yeah, it works pretty well. So I missed that. On the heels of that, Windows 10 still alive and kicking, and this month's patch Tuesday was yesterday, and there was one particularly nasty exploit for Windows 10 in there. So if you have not updated Windows 10, do it. As you can see, well, you might not be able to see how, depending on how Shane has this cropped, but I'm updating all of my Windows 10 tablets and machines and all that in the background here. This one was bad enough that our friends at the NSA, no such agency, they actually, instead of just keeping this one under their hat and using it themselves to exploit us, this one was bad enough that they told everybody about it so that everybody would patch it because they didn't trust that it would not be used for nefarious means.
Yeah, and I patched yesterday. I didn't know any of what you're talking about now. I just, right before I did a recording, I usually will patch and reboot just, one less thing to go wrong. And it was a longer one. I mean, it probably took 15 minutes or so to put all this round of patches on for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you had right, because there was a .NET one in there. There was a the Windows Defender one in there. There was the patch for 1906, and then there was an Excel security fix as well.
I didn't see the Excel one. Well, that's the thing. So right now in front of me, I've got 3 different Windows boxes, and I've got one more. I got a laptop. They're all on slightly different versions of Windows 10, different rings, and they all had slightly different experiences for this patch. And the desktop, the one that I'm on, is on one of the preview builds. And so I, tried to do the patching on it, and it said it had no patches. So I don't know. I'm like, have the bad guys already gotten in and done their business with that? So I need to look into that a little bit. But the other 2, they're in the process of doing it.
Well, and speaking of patches, slightly related, did you ever get the that last Tesla patch?
No. Yeah. I think I'm still 30-some days out.
Yeah, me too. I'm guessing that it just turns out that one that came out right before Christmas just never made it to the MCU 2 car or MCU 1 cars 2 whatever we are.
I'm MCU 1. You're MCU. Yeah. So it's been 21 days. Or no. So I got my last one the 10th of December.
Yeah.
Yep. So I had the Tesla guy out yesterday, getting me a new key, and he didn't update it either. So.
I think they just pulled it for us MCU 1 people.
Another reason.
Said it, but that seems that from reading everything, I don't know anyone MCU 1 that has said they got it. So
another reason to get that MCU update.
There you go. You could have the latest and greatest.
Yep. It's and I this is not in the notes, but you made me start talking about it. So I went down to Kansas City this weekend to watch the Chiefs play.
How did I get you here?
You mentioned wheels, and I used the wheel to get
listeners. I apologize for this.
I'm not going to belabor the Chiefs thing.
Yeah, right.
Though I would love to. But it took the Tesla. It's cold. We all know that the cold hurts the battery efficiency a great deal. But being a good user of this stuff, we made our hotel reservations based on a hotel that had a charger in the parking lot. Hit one supercharger on the way down. Parked in the parking lot at the hotel. Car charged the entire time we were at the game. It was right across the street from the stadium, so we left the stadium at 5:30 on cloud 9. Feet didn't touch the ground. Walked over to the car, completely charged, completely topped off. Off we went. Cost no extra. It was just included in the hotel. Yep.
Very nice. I assume you guys just did the victory dance the whole way home.
So I had to be a little aware of the surroundings because we had to cross the interstate and all that. And because I had tasked my wife with buying tickets to this week's game, so she was on her phone walking, which is a horrible idea, but we did that. And so it worked out pretty well. So the reason I bring this up is I made a post on Facebook and kind of talked about that. And it's this thing that we EV owners are slowly overcoming is when you don't have an electric vehicle, you never see chargers.
Right.
And so when people talk about, hey, you should get an electric car, everybody's like, well, there's no chargers anywhere. They are everywhere. And I mean everywhere. So there was a hotel right where we wanted to stay that had a charger in the parking lot where I charged for free. And if that hadn't have been the case, Arrowhead has 2 banks of chargers in the parking lot. So there's one if you pay for the fancy parking up by the stadium, and then there's one off in the Netherlands of the parking lot. So even if that hotel hadn't had it, we could have paid for parking. The EV chargers are everywhere. They're in airports. They're in whatever. So I made a post about that on Facebook, and it was interesting. It's one of my most popular Facebook posts, in a while because people are just really, they just don't see them.
Yeah. No, my movie theater has them. I mean, yeah, they're just sprinkled all about, and until you start kind of doing this number, looking for them, you're like, oh, who would have known?
Yeah. So that's a great little perk. And a couple of folks have mentioned not on that Facebook thread, but it seems like almost like us EV folks are getting something for free because they're you wouldn't expect your hotel to put gas in your car or whatever. It probably cost my hotel $4 or $5 in electricity for me charging. Obviously, there's infrastructure that they put in to make that all work, but the actual amount of electricity is very, very small. So it really wasn't much out of their pocket.
And it's marketing, right? Because you
Yeah.
chose that hotel. You literally went there because they had a charger. So
Yes, and we had a reservation at a hotel across the street, and we canceled that one because I was looking at something else. I'm like, hey, that hotel over there's got a charger. And I made sure when we checked in that I told, every time I do that, because I make my hotel reservations based on that now. And every time I check in, I'm like, I just want you, for a data point, I'm here because of that charger over there. So just, I want them to get the word out that does, that does impact buyers.
yeah. Now, and it is interesting, right? Because we definitely do that. And sometimes on the road, like on bigger road trips, I encounter chargers in hotel parking lots,
Yep.
like the actual superchargers.
Yeah.
And they're almost always in the lower end hotels. I'm like, there's a disconnect here, right? I would love to stay at a hotel with a supercharger, but I'm not staying at a $49 a night
Red roof
hotel.
in kind of deal. Yeah. So I've seen it across the board. So in Minneapolis, we stay at one by the mall, the AC Hotel.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, and that they have the actual Tesla chargers.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the Tesla ones, yeah.
Yeah, and then the one I stayed at in Kansas City was the Adams Mark by the stadium, and it's not bad. There's like 4 or 5 hotels that are there right across the street from Arrowhead and Kaufman, or not Kaufman, whatever the Royal Stadium is. They're there for a specific reason, the sports complex. And so they really don't have to try very hard because they're going to be full regardless.
What they do, yeah.
So some of those hotels are not the best because they don't have to be. And so this one is not bad, but it's not, AC hotel kind of hotel. But I've seen them, kind of the wide variety.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but that's good. Just getting the word out there. We got a couple of minutes left. I've got something at 11. Do you want to talk about Forms? I know we were talking about that earlier. Let's spend some time on Microsoft Forms. This is something I wanted to hear about.
Yeah, so one of the things, if you guys are familiar with it, Microsoft Forms is the Office 365 tool that allows you to create forms. And when you hear form, think more like surveys, right? So Todd equated it to Survey Monkey earlier, and I think that's a better way to equate it. So build those type of forms for gathering information, or you can also do quizzes with it so that you can, literally like, hey, take this quiz, I'm going to score it at the end and give you a score based on the ones you got true or false or right or wrong. I guess it's a more right way to say that. And it's actually something that came out of the Office 365 education silo, but it turned out there was a large demand. And so it went from Office 365 education to Office 365 general availability. And it's a pretty cool little tool. It's not very robust. It's not like super amazing. It doesn't have all these bells and whistles. It's literally just, here's like 7 different types of questions you can ask, put them in here, order them up, and then you can choose to share the link out with anyone, so anonymously, or you can share it internally. And if you can share it internally, then you get additional features like file uploads and the ability to limit people to only take it one time and things like that. So I don't know. It's an interesting little platform that we're just seeing kind of come up more and more. And I don't know, what kind of got what made you go, I should probably care a little bit about that?
So a couple of things. One is, it's like the whole hammer and nail thing. Every problem I see, I try to fix with Office 365.
Yep.
And I spend a lot of time with our school PTO.
Yeah. Yep.
And our school system, their email and all that's based on Google. And so everything is Google Drive, Google Docs, Google, Google's got the Google Forms thing. And every time, and for that situation, it makes the most sense. All the teachers have Google accounts. I'm never going to try to convince them otherwise. That would be a horrible idea. But when I see how well something is working outside of Microsoft, I'm like, how would I do this with Office 365 if I had that luxury? And the Forms piece several years ago was one of those pieces that there wasn't a great way to do it.
Right.
And so that was part of me wanting Microsoft Forms to know more about that, to see if there's a way now to do some of those things that I had to do in Google Forms and Microsoft Forms. And the other one was SurveyMonkey. We do a lot of things, volunteer things, and signing up for taking supplies into teachers and all that with SurveyMonkey. And SurveyMonkey works great. There's just no complaints about SurveyMonkey. But if I can do it with Office 365, I would prefer to do that. So that was kind of my thing. And I was talking to you that I told you. So I refuse to watch any of your videos, just out of just general principle. But if I went into YouTube and YouTube suggested a video to me replacing SurveyMonkey with Microsoft Forms, I would probably click it before I had a chance to see that it was from your channel and not click it. because I see that that's a good replacement, a good use. I'd like to see how that worked.
Yeah. And just like SurveyMonkey, it's pretty straightforward to use. Another nice thing is that you're not limited on the amount of data you store in it. So you can, pile up the survey results, because that's one of the things SurveyMonkey, right? You can hit limits with them and they start charging you more.
Yeah.
So that's all built in. But then what's interesting is they kind of just store the data behind the scenes in this nebulous, it's just back there. I don't know. It's stored.
How do you get to it?
Yeah, so you have options. You can either go in and there's a nice dashboard that kind of provides some insights, some charts and things like that to help you analyze the data. You can then also flip through the individual responses. So if you want to kind of see what this person did versus this one. So there's ways to do it in the browser. Mm-hmm. You can open an Excel and then it'll just dump the data into an Excel file for you.
Good.
But really the reason that I've been interested in it is because we're using it more and more as a front end to Power Apps type of solutions where we have, we want to get customer input or external type of input on the cheap. So what we can do is you can also write a Power Automate, aka Flow, that every time a new response gets put into Microsoft Forms, it triggers, and then you can just have it go save that data into SharePoint, into SQL, into CDS. Gotcha. The world is your oyster at that point because you've got it into Power Automate, which lets you do whatever you want to do with the data. So that's kind of where I'm heading with the series, right? I want to make a video that is an intro to forms. Yay. Now you understand forms. I want to then go make a second video that here's how you use Flow to take those responses out of forms and put them into a database, because then you can
you do stuff with them. Yeah.
And the best example, one of our customers is they're a big agency. And so what they do is whatever the thing they sell, they have independent agents that join their system, their network, to do the thing, right?
Right.
And so they're onboarding a handful to a dozen agents every week. And it used to be they'd send those people, a bunch of paper, fill out all this paper, they'd get it back, and then someone would have to go and put that in the system, blah. So now what we do when someone gets onboarded, we send them this forms link. They fill in all the data once there. We then suck it in with Power Automate into SQL, and then it shows up in their Power App, the agency management dashboard, so they can be like, okay, now this person is in here. Now let me, send off their forms to get their certifications and things like that. They go through the process, but it's all become electronic instead of ad hoc. We also, because the form has to be anonymous, we added a step in the flow that basically it requires you to approve it. So you say, oh yeah, I was expecting John Smith to fill this out, approved, and then it goes to the system. Or no, I was not expecting Todd Clint, screw that guy, and then you can deny it.
We would have never hired that.
Yeah. The other neat thing there is we're also even using it to create their Azure AD account, because once an agent fills this out, they then get an Azure AD account, so they can then get into the rest of it. They become part of the clan once they've filled out this form and it gets approved.
So it sounds like you're, in that instance, using forms as like a Power Apps Lite sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Like if forms didn't exist, you could have spent a bunch of time building a Power App to get all that information.
Well, when we first started, though, Power Apps wasn't external facing, so there would have been no way to do it.
Yes. There was no anonymous. Yes, yeah. That is one big differentiator.
So now Power Apps has this ability to do portals, and they put the data in CDS, and I think you could recreate this in a pure Power App scenario now, but it would be a lot more expensive and a lot more complex. Yeah. And portals really just isn't ready yet. So I think this is a great way for people who, so we've done it that. We had other ones where people wanted to have customers fill out surveys so that people could get kudos, right? So, one of your customers would be like, yeah, Todd did a great job of writing my PowerShell. And so then that could electronically come into the system, go into your permanent record, all that type of stuff. So.
Boy, it'd be tough to find with all the other stuff in my permanent record.
Your permanent record is very permanent.
Yes. Oh, that's good. So I might play with it. So one of the places that Google Forms falls down is the anonymous thing. And it sounds like Microsoft Forms has the same issue. So with Google Forms, I can either make it has to be anonymous or has to be authenticated, but there is no login if you can, be anonymous if you can't option. And that, and I sort of get why that is, but that would be helpful for me if they didn't do that.
Yeah. Another thing it does really well that I failed to mention is it does multilingual. So if you do have multiple audiences, it's real easy to build an experience so they can just say, I'm English or I'm Spanish, and see the different versions of it. So
yeah, I definitely need to look at it. When it first came out, I think it was not anonymous and it was Office 365 only, which of course didn't really help me out much. But it sounds like it's where I want it to be.
yeah, I mean, I have not found any shortcomings, and they do. I mean, so there are customization things and like that level that you can't do. But if you want to get like super advanced, then you can move over to Forms Pro, which is a paid product that then like takes, you know, the cap off, and you can do all this advanced sharing, advanced customizations, data integrations. You know, you can really get super fancy. But so far, for all of our needs, Forms free, Forms Lite, I don't know what you'd call it. The non-paid version has worked really well.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I need to check that. But yes, make that video. And I was thinking about a different topic earlier. Somebody on my one of my fans or friends on Facebook posted a thing that said, if I did a TED Talk, what do you think I should do it on? You know, and I was thinking at the time, because of some other stuff that I was working on, I was like, I wish that I could articulate the sweet spot between falling for the curse of knowledge and mansplaining.
Whew.
Because and when you and I were talking about this, that was exactly where you were at. Because when you first started making this video, you're like, oh, this is so basic. This is so simple. The phrase you use, I'm teaching them how to breathe. You are so deep in the curse of knowledge. But then because you and I have talked about it so much, you pulled yourself back in. And then you're like, oh, yeah, so then I should get. But then now are you mansplaining because you're telling them stuff they should already. So finding that spot in the middle, it's always tough.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point, right? Because I recorded my intro to Teams video yesterday, and when I got done with it, I didn't feel satisfied, or intro to Forms, sorry. I just didn't feel satisfied. I just felt like I don't know what I did. You encapsulate it perfect. I just don't know which end of the spectrum I was on. Because like with my Power Apps videos, I when I put one out, right, I always feel like, all right, boom, you know, I've hit this. I'm in the middle. I'm happy. I finished. I hit done. I'm like, that was good.
I need a cigarette. Oh.
Yeah, and I got done with this one. I'm like, that was terrible. But I don't know if it was terrible because it was too basic or too complex, too fast, too slow. So I've got some non-technical people watching it just to give me some feedback, and I don't know.
Yeah, send it to me. I would. I'll give you some feedback.
You can provide feedback on how terrible I did too. It sounds right up your alley.
I'm on board. Like if anybody gets to do that, damn it, I want some of that. I want a piece. But no, I think it's good, and I think finding that balance is always tough. I screw it up all the time. Fortunately, I have you there to rein me in.
I'm always happy to be mean to you. Be like, your blog post sucks, Todd.
All right. So for Community Corner and all of that, I'm going to be at the SharePoint conference in May. So that's official. I'm doing a session on site designs and site scripts, and then another session on PowerShell with Office 365. And I forget when the days are of that, May 20 something. So I'll put I need to blog that, and I'll put our codes, some practice codes, so you can get like $50 off and all of that. Looks like I'm also going to be doing some stuff in Europe in June. That's not all been finalized yet, but I've got some trips going on there. You got anything going on?
No, you just remind me. I really need to renew my passport.
Do that, yes.
So I am actually in February. I'm speaking for the Cambridge, England user group.
Goodness, that sounds very esteemed. Why are they allowing the likes of you?
I assume they're really desperate. The good news is, though, I am going to do that remotely because, aforementioned, my passport is currently not valid. So, yeah, I've got that coming up. I'm doing, end of January, there is a app in a day. That's the free Microsoft training, so I'll teach that here in Cincinnati. There's another one in February. The spots are filling up fast, so if you are into, well, I don't know why I'm saying this because this will be long past by the time this show goes out.
Yes.
So I need to
put the year after the month so that it, yeah.
But yeah, so I got that going on. I think that's a lot of what is happening in my world. So.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, and it's I haven't set up for any user group stuff this year, but I need to do that. need to reach out to some folks and just say, hey,
Yeah,
I'm feeling lonely.
it'll be March before you know it, right? That's our drop dead date for filling out.
Oh, yeah, for the MVP stuff. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. That again. That's always that. So
that process is not winning.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody, I think that's all we have fit to print right now. Thanks, everybody in the chat room. And I will, again, renew my vow to get caught up with these and start taking them out so we get caught up. And I will see you next week.
I miss you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.